Okay, so just to reiterate, this is Town Hall meeting number 2 of the Save MWO series hosted by the Word of Low Tax. I'll be your moderator today along with my charming and lovable friend Alan Wren. We've got a number of people here to speak about the topics of the day. We're going to get to those in just a second. Just for the record, I want everyone to take 5 seconds in the Town Hall speakers going from top to bottom, who you are and what your group is. No more than 5 seconds, please. Go. Ferrix, that's you. Soy, go. Soy. Moving on.
Mask Jammer, Better Galaxy, Smoke Jaguar, leader and ex-Living Legends balance developer.
Very cool. Serial Tax. Why can't you guys have simple names like me? Next.
Ace Archer, representing the Iridani Light Pony.
Cool. Next.
Not everyone is you, Anders.
Quiet you.
This is Alan Wren of the Violent Combat Robot Show in the Word of Low Tax. I will be yelling at people. I do not have good opinions, so I am just going to yell at people when necessary.
This is Anders from the Word of Low Tax. I'll be moderating this thing. Next.
This is Aylward from the Headhunters of Davian.
Next.
I'm Cease to Hope of Word of Low Tax, and I'll be bringing comments from the chat and helping moderate.
Perfect. Next.
My name is Ghost Dragon, and I'm here representing Chaos Legion.
Next. Lazy Eye. Next.
Hi, I'm Miko, and I'll be representing the Fallen.
Next.
I'm Piper. I'm representing Devil Dogs at HouseSteiner.com.
Next.
Protection, former ELP drop commander, currently unaffiliated.
Next. I think we can skip
Korska.
Varen.
Hi, my name's Varen. I'm one of the battalion commanders in HHOD.
Mr. Knight.
William Knight, Iridani Light Pony.
And then Mr. Zero.
Zero, battalion commander of Credit Integrated Command.
And for those of us who are playing the home game, we have a press box containing Deadfire and Wales Grey, who are streaming on Twitch TV. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for broadcasting this out to the masses who couldn't configure Mumble or get on to Jabber. Thank you kindly. So, the topic of the day, let's do a little recap here very quickly. Oh, sorry. Perfect. Awesome. So now that everyone's got that out of the way, just to recap, Save MWO Town Hall Meeting 1, we had gotten a number of general feedback and ideas, and we presented it to PGI in an attempt to sort of engage the developers, to engage the community, and unfortunately, we were kind of met with negative results. However, in a positive note, we did get from Russ an explanation on third-person view. We did get an Ask the Devs 44 answers, which were answers, I guess, if you want to call them that. And so the engagement level is slowly increasing. Let's say that that has nothing to do with this. We'll just assume that. And so now we're here with MWO Town Hall Meeting number 2. What are we going to do about this sort of black hole that PGI is constructing for themselves? Why don't we take just a quick run from the top to bottom about what we're going to do about that? What do you think we should do, guys? Guys, sorry, I hate to interrupt. I'm just getting some comments from the Jabber chat. For the people that did not input a access token, no one in the other channels can hear you. So it's very important that you do that. If you have not configured your access token, please do so now.
Anders, we may actually have to take this room and unlink it for a moment so we can give the access token to the people who showed up late.
Right. Sorry, guys. I apologize. Give us like 2 seconds. We'll just figure this out. Yeah, we'll do it in the text chat. Once again, apologies. So people are saying that they can't hear soy. So soy, you need to configure your access token.
I think Soy and Verx and Sirio in particular don't have it.
I might add it now.
What the fuck?
That's vamp music from Alan Wren here. So you guys now good? Soy, can you just check that?
What?
Just talk, just for like 30 seconds.
Hello? Keeping it real?
Okay, perfect. So you're good.
Verx, can you talk again? Verx, you need to set your token if you're talking.
Can you hear serial tracks?
I can, you're set.
Server, click on top left corner, server, access tokens, and then add the token.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Verx, you're good.
Alright, awesome.
Sorry about that, gentlemen. So back to the chat, reiterating what we had talked about. So what can we do to prevent this stonewalling, this black hole sort of stuff from PGI?
The 228 in general believes that it's really a communication issue. We talked about in the last town hall meeting that there's been a lot of back and forth between PGI, a whole lot in the very beginning when MWO first came out. We had a really in-depth working with PGI on what we wanted and what they were going to be giving us. And as things went on, they gave us less information. We were hungry for that information. The information that they did give us, they met a lot of negative feedback from the community, sometimes warranted, sometimes not. And so then they gave us less and less feedback. And these town hall meetings, I think, will be a good step forward in reestablishing that. I know there's a few PGI members that are also not happy with where the game's going. They want to make it better. They're not, just sitting on their asses, but I think that communication link has been, destroyed over time, especially with their pushbacks on, dates for content and things like that. And they're kind of getting burned on the process. So I think it really comes down to communication. And once we establish that again, and even if it's bad, stuff, even if they're having to tell us, oh man, sorry guys, we can't do this, but we're doing this and we're doing this, and this didn't work because of this. I think that'll make us a whole lot happier and a lot more understanding.
Next,
straightforward.
Anybody who wants this is open. Anyone who wants to chime in can do so. No worries.
I thought we were going down the list.
Well, okay, Soy, what do you have to say?
Deviate's position as a competitive unit, holistically, is that we don't really feel that PGI is concerned with us at all. It's probably to the contrary. They actually, from what I can tell, they've tried to systematically dampen anything that has a potential power in order to save it for the masses. Where those masses exist, I'm not really sure, because it's kind of lonely at the top, but I can tell you this much, third-person view community warfare, that's going to dictate a whole lot of the the shifts in the demographics of people who are playing this. The people who made this game initially and kickstarted it and funded it, that might not be the actual segment of the market that their business is marketing towards now. Maybe they're shifting. We don't have the data on that. So my opinion is that they're probably focusing, and rightly so, on where the money is. Whether or not that is conducive to competitive play remains to be seen with community warfare.
Moss.
Yep, okay. So the problem is at the moment is PGI have managed to, well, the product's it's sort of setting a little bit of a bad taste in people's mouths at the moment. People are getting disfranchised, which is a pretty big deal for a big thing like MechWarrior. Because, you know, obviously the state of the franchise and the importance of it is what's made people spend so much money. And the fact that it's been such a long process with so many disappointments, people are starting to really get burned out on that. And that's not a good thing to happen, because that's very hard to restore. That faith is really hard to restore in things. The fact of the matter is, from my perspective, is I don't really think we can do all that much in regards to trying to fix this black hole issue. It's up to PGI at this point to try to restore the faith in the community, and they have to do this through as many little plus points and little fixes and little gains that they can make. Anything that is going to make people feel positive about the game, they have to be looking to do at this point. You know, we have to get the idea about the stuff about community warfare has to come out that makes us excited. You know, the stuff about fixing the main issues of the game just has to be done. They can't just sit on the fence with this forever now and just kind of expect that people are just going to wait, because eventually people's patience is going to run out, and I think we're starting to see that.
Very well said. Ace Archer.
Well, the ELP essentially thinks that in order to make an impact, we kind of have to show them what they could have. Maybe that be by everyone getting on for a week, then stopping and boycotting it for a week, just to kind of give them a taste and then take it away. But generally, the overall feeling is we have to give them a palpable reason to listen to us. We have to say, look, you need to listen to us. We have to show that we are important to an extent, and that, well, we just need to at least have some sort of consideration, because right now PGI isn't even listening to most parts, if not any, of the community, and really that just needs to change.
Howard.
From HHOD's standpoint, you know, a lot of what these guys above me have said is true. They're not listening to us. They're looking for reasons to tune us out, and if they don't make a business decision at some point to tune us back in, they're going to have big problems here. Us finding ways to reestablish communication with the developers should be paramount for us here. We got to figure out how to get them to actually listen to what we're saying, and not as the quote-unquote vocal minority, as they keep calling us, but as the core group that's actually going to be here in a few years after the Call of Duty crowd fades away. You know, that's something we've got to get across to them somehow.
Very cool. Ghost Dragon.
Where to start again? I'm going to sort of touch on something I did before, in that, you know, obviously, especially amongst us, trust is at an all-time low. And obviously, lack of trust is not going to make you want to spend any money. Like I said in another post, I think last week, is that my faith in this game was actually at its highest when this game was arguably at one of its lowest points. Shortly after they went open beta, and the netcode was absolutely terrible. Like, it was so bad. And of course, one of the developers made a post and just came out and said, look, the netcode is bad and you guys are absolutely right about it. You know, it's you guys have criticized it for being bad, and we completely agree with you. And it was that first sentence or two of that post that basically said, you know, that just said to me, you know, these guys get it. They understand their problems. And, you know, any company in any industry that understands their problems are at least on the path to fixing them. The problem with game balance, and of course, being competitive players, a lot of us here, you know, game balance, we obviously see the value in it, is that they're going up what we feel is the wrong tree. They say Russ Bullock on Twitter said, the reason they want to implement this system, the reason they are implementing it, is because to solve pinpoint alpha problems. Well, pinpoint alpha problems weren't really a problem until a lot of these balance changes were made by them in the first place. Jump jetting mechs weren't seen much, and neither were PBCs. So the pinpoint alpha problem, I don't think was to the characteristics of the way these weapons fire specifically, more to the point, more about what their values are. And of course, now we have like the heat scale and whatnot applying to weapons like LRMs, which aren't really pinpoint weapons either. It's applying to everything. So they're trying to fix the prevalence of PBC and Gauss at the same time, and they decide to make it affect everything else. So even if maybe it had an effect on bringing down the amount of sniping, it affect all these other weapons that we countervail them in the first place. So what they're saying they're trying to attempt to do in their actual systems and that they're implementing to do it seem at odds with each other. And that's obviously, rocking our faith in this company to be able to competently manage game balance.
Lazy Eye. Sleep of the Switch. Mikhail.
Alright, I just think, one of the biggest things that we can do is to keep doing what we're doing now, keep having these meetings and try to get this group to grow larger. The more people that, come to agree with us and what we're about and everything, the bigger noise we make to PGI. And I really would love to see just the company itself sending out, emails or surveys, on, game balance to everybody in general, just to get general feedback to see where everybody sits on what they find is broken and balanced and such like that. So, like I've been playing Neverwinter, and I haven't logged in probably 2 weeks, but just recently they shot me an email out of the blue. Take the survey, tell us what you think is good about the game and where we can improve. And we see nothing like that from PGI at all.
So, Mikhail, basically you're asking that they treat the beta like a beta.
Yeah, I think we all were asking that. But I do feel that they definitely did not use their time wisely to really test things. We went from 1.5 damage SRMs to 2.0 damage SRMs in a week, and, they could have been playing with those numbers for the past 6 months, tweaking them 0.1 up, 0.1 down, and they just chose not to. So...
But the most explicit way for them to learn about that stuff is from the players. And I'm sure you've all seen this. How many times have you sniped a dude cockpit and he DCs from the match?
Yep.
How many people do you do that to with an high alpha? And then how many people have you done that to with flamers and machine guns? Nobody, So that tells you something. The most visceral feedback they can get is from watching us do what we did. And there's always a bow shock between when they actually mechanically do something and when we hop upon it and shift the meta to it. There's always a delay in that. And the most visceral time is when you see that critical mass, that jump up of everyone going to the new shit.
Very well said. Piper.
Well, a lot of what I've talked about with my friends and my units and a lot of house units too, is that we look at PGI's history and we see that they hate us. And if they don't hate us, they're certainly pretending like they do. One big example is when they talked about community warfare and house units house players being passive players versus merc players being active players. Like, the mercs get to choose the planets they attack and the house units don't. And they talk about earning your way into house units when I know several house units that already have identities. They don't care about earning a certain color scheme or something. They want to make their house dominant. They want to expand their borders or whatever. And it seems to me that right there, and this was just a month or two ago when they said that during that video interview, it showed them how completely out of touch with the community that they are if they think that the house units are any less active or dedicated or interested in changing the metagame or changing the inner sphere in community warfare than any of the merc units are. And it makes me think there's two things that they two more things that are major evidence that shows that they really are not geared towards community warfare, that they want people to play Lone Wolf. One is all the things that they've done, either to kill the 8-mans. Remember when they killed the 8-mans for a while? They do everything they can to prevent sync drops. They won't give us lobbies, which I won't even start into because it's a hot button, but everybody knows that lobbies could do a lot of good things. They do all these things, but what they don't have out there, they don't do surveys like has been mentioned, and I even wrote letters to the head honchos. I'm like, do some surveys, attach the surveys to the next beta thing that comes out, and ask your players what they really want. And they don't have a community manager out there. They don't have somebody who's going from house to house and from big merc unit to big merc unit and asking the people what they're looking for in the game. They have nobody out there that's actually talking to the community. Garth is the closest they have, and I never see him leave either the MechWarrior forums or No Guts No Galaxy. No Guts No Galaxy, when you listen to that, it's very, very polite and very formal. And as far as how do we reach them and how do we get in touch with them and get them to listen to us, I want to advocate as best we can, a positive method of doing that. My earlier example was lobbies. If they give us private lobbies, then we get what we want, but at the same time, we can provide them with our own internal testing or dropping against our friends or just walking around the map. We could figure out all of these whether hitboxes are off, because we could test it by running back and forth with spiders and seeing if we can knock them out with AC-20s or not. Whatever little testing we could do, we could provide them with much greater, more detailed feedback than we could by just taking a screenshot of the game and sending it off after the game. We can break their game for them and fix it, we're in a beta, right? And we could do those things. So we could scratch their back if they would actually talk to us and show us where it needs to be scratched. But I think that calling for boycotts and all that stuff, I fear that it won't reach them, because perhaps they really don't care about the community as we are now. We've got to show them what the community could do for them to actually listen to us, to value us.
Well said. Protection.
Well, Piper stole a lot of the points I wanted to brush on. It was a really great statement there. I just want to say, though, we all know that none of us are here because we hate the game and we want it to die. We're all here because we want to see this game succeed and we want to see it be as great as it can be. If we were to make a list of the things that the game needed to change to be great in closed beta, that list probably would have been about 12 things long. Now it feels like the list is like 45 things long. It feels like each new edition PGI manages to break 2 new things. And it's just, a constant, again, not listening or letting your community participate, that it's kind of insulting to some degree.
Very well said. Dust Muffins, we're just going to skip you just because of the token issue. Varen, can you say your bit?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you to Word of Low-Tax for hosting this. I was at the last one, and I thought a lot of good things were discussed there. I find myself on the same page with a lot of you, so I'll just keep it very short. Really just emphasize that, placing high importance on devising methods of getting the developers' attention and really kind of work on, bolstering communication and reestablishing some trust between the players and the developers, because quite frankly, I think that the trust is in the toilet right now. There's just no trust between the players and the development community.
Yep.
Brief technical point, Dust Muffins, could you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, Dust Muffins from Clan Snowraven here.
Okay, just a late entry and you're working fine.
All right.
Perfect. Dust Muffins, why don't you have a chat? Basically what we're talking about is the fact that we had MW1. We sent a letter indicating we had issues, and we perhaps they could engage with the community better, and they black-holed us. What are we going to do about the fact that they're not choosing to acknowledge this in the slightest?
Honestly, when it comes to that point, I have more questions than answers. I'd like to see them acknowledge us. I think maybe engaging them one-on-one may help, but I really have very few ideas. There's nothing you can do to make someone listen to you, and it's really unfortunate because I think we have a lot of good ideas. that should be listened to. A lot of the people here are here because they care about it. You know, I see most people in the Save MWO threads are founders, so they've probably been MechWarrior fans for a very long time. And they want nothing but the best for the game, just like I do. And I think it's really unfortunate that they're not really listening to any beta testers.
Very well said. William, go ahead.
Basically, all we really need is communication with PGI. If we had that, I think a lot of our problems will at least be acknowledged, and we can live with that, I think. But the best way we need to first get their attention. And I think Ace Archer mentioned it, that we could try a week of us all playing at the same time, and then a week of boycott just to show our numbers. Perhaps they will notice us then.
Very interesting. Mr. Zero.
I'd say the best way to get PGI to really listen to us as a community would be to continue doing positive and well-reasoned feedback. I think that a lot of the reason that PGI is a little bit poor in their communication really stems from the negative comments, overwhelmingly negative comments that they received from the MechWarrior Online forums that led to its restructuring, or Twitter campaigns. I think someone originally said to Russ Bullock that he needs to die in the fire or something like that. We're taking the opposite stance, and I think that's the best way to reach to them. Once they realize that we're probably not going to go that way, I think they'll be more inclined to step forward and say, hey, we like what you're doing. What can we do to help you?
Fair enough. And I'll just take the last little bit here. So,
Anders,
sorry. No, did I? Oh, fuck me. I'm sorry. Serial Facts, please go.
Jumping in on WM0's point, I do think it's really important that we keep it classy so that they will not just close off, fingers in ears, and scream la 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 la, you're trying to kill this game, which a lot of, I know, the naysayers of this movement have been saying. And I think we're in agreement that the first town hall was a good step. It showed that we had numbers, we had people who agreed that there was something wrong. And however, out of that, we only got that one short letter, and the letter in and of itself didn't really have a specific detail to the complaints or an exact definition of what we would be happy with seeing from PGI. So when you contrast that to something like, hold up a second. I just linked in the Jabber chat a open letter from Dust 514 players to CCP, the developers of that game, and they have very similar issues in that game. Also, I'd appreciate if the streamers could relink that on their Twitch. They have very similar issues there with the communication coming from the developers, and they have, I think it's something, I don't know how many words, but a very detailed open letter explaining what's been going wrong, what they'd like to see, and why it's important, and what we can talk about it in these meetings, and it's self-evident to us what's wrong, why listening to us is important. Unless we clearly detail that, we might not get that communication in the end.
For the people listening to the audio recording, which will be coming out after this meeting, I'm not going to read the URL. I'm sorry. Try Googling State of Affairs Communication and Trust. That's ampersand trust on dust514.com. You should be able to find it.
Can I just go off of what Sirio and Knight said really quickly?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this has also been leading to, a negative feedback loop. Their lack of communication. We've had, thankfully, Garth give us a bit of communication, but it was mostly just about what could happen, not any concrete answers from the top. And of course, the reason this whole Save MWO thing exists is because of such a lack of communication. And as this whole thing has gone on, as they've released more mechanics that have made us, obviously irritated for many, many reasons we've outlined. And then, we want to understand the reasoning, and, we have to go to Twitter to get it. And the more they shut us out and more introduce these mechanics, the more wound up we get. until this happened, until we made Save MWO and got together and really started hashing out our points together, you know, and really discovering how many of us there really were with these points. And you look at the thread on Dust514, and the guy pointed out some things that are happening here too, is that they implemented these balance changes right when they happened. They didn't actually test the waters at all, you know, to see what the feedback would be, to see what players would think or how they'd understand these mechanics. And MWO is doing the exact same thing. They're like Ghost Heat and whatnot. Once they were released, all of us, it's arguably one of the thing that really got us together to, you know, actually make this town hall. And it's just so weird to see like the same thing happen in another game where they're ignoring the player base, and of course it just starts creating, you know, a feedback. You know, they've shut us out, we get more annoyed. They shut us out some more, we get more annoyed. So I think the onus should be on them at least to try and release the pressure some more by addressing some of these concerns in a more fleshed out manner. And Russ did that with third person view, but I think there are other things that need to be addressed too. At least open up enough of a dialogue that we can challenge their reasoning on things before they try and implement them.
Yeah, I think that's very well reasoned. Lazy Eye, we'll give you one last chance if you're around to say your piece.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in the UK. I was taking a nap to make sure I wasn't totally wiped out tomorrow morning.
No, that's okay. Lazy, if you could just introduce yourself so we know who you are, and then get to your point, please.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I'm a pugger. Basically, I listened to the original town hall, and my concern was obviously the original town hall was very much focused at the sort of top end players, you know, the people who play in organised groups, and I just wanted to make sure that there's a bit more balance in the discussion. But obviously, having listened to you originally, I was quite happy to hear that you were generally quite balanced in your views. I think that in terms of the overall, it is very disconcerting that you know, the direction they seem to have taken, the design and the development. I don't really think that there's too much more to add on that. In terms of moving forward, you know, I for me personally, why I wanted to play this game was, or what I was looking for was something that that really got in touch with, you know, the Mech 2 Mercs, which is where I really started with the first person games, and you know, just looking at the whole Mech 2 Mercs. Apparently, it grossed or Mech 2 as a whole grossed $70 million, and you know, you look at MWO. And MWO is a fraction of the complexity, and that's a kind of, you know, I think the point I want to get across to PGI is that actually, you know, you can have that complexity that I guess us PC gamers recognise as sets PC games apart from console games. You can have that and still have a successful game. You know, you don't have to constantly strive for the lowest common denominator, and actually that additional complexity really is what differentiates your product and what keeps people interested. You know, a decade and a bit later. I mean, you know, I posted a link on the Mechalingua, the Skype channel, which is basically, you know, the first. It's somebody done a video on YouTube of the first couple of missions from Mech 2 Mercs, and just, you know, you're talking about the new player experience. You've got this great character with somebody who's a reasonable voice actor who's putting a lot of humor and really memorable stuff into that really very early experience. I mean, who can remember that classic line? In real combat, speed is life. You go slow, you die. That is something that sticks with me. Like 15, 16 years on from when I originally played that game, and it's that kind of just drawing them back to here is what we experienced, and you can. All we're asking for is that you draw on the material that's already out there.
Very well said. Thank you. It's brought to my attention that Mr. Zero, WM0, you have a point there.
Yeah, I think one of the best things that we could really do is at the launch of each patch, go to the community and have a poll for what we think that individual community members think is the biggest problem facing MWO today. I noticed on the Reddit thread, I think someone linked it earlier, Heem Delight has posted a list. And I'm not saying this list specifically, but one kind of like it would be issues would be the current pricing model is overpriced and disproportionate, recent C-Bilm nerf, possible nerfs of PPCs, balance to weapon hit boating pairings, addressing the community about recent additions and stuff like that. What we could do is really talk about that and each week take a vote to see what people think. And then either do Matani threads or QQ Mercs about how we as the presenters or in the community would really, really like to change those issues.
So just to wrap up this topic of conversation, in echoing what Ghost Dragon was saying earlier, I have a rhetorical question to pose to everyone listening, to those who are listening at home and on streams and such like that, is that can you articulate through what you know from what PGI has told us, what community warfare is going to look like? Can you tell me or tell a new player why you should be in a medium weight class mech as opposed to a light or a heavy or an assault? And that frustrating lack of even top level vision, like not even technical specific details, but just top level vision is shockingly missing from a game that's 1 month away from release, and why PGI's felt it necessary to hold that information back from us, and why they don't seem to think that it's an idea to share it with the community at large. Okay, so moving on. At this point, we've sort of discussed the major point of the second town hall Save MWO meeting. At this point, I want to just open it up a little more. We can engage in a less rigorous or less codified dialogue. What I really want from you guys is just, we know there are issues and we know that there are communication issues, but I mean, is it a situation where we're going to talk to the gaming media about this? Is this a situation where we're all going to move to another game? Like what, we want to be productive and we want to be positive, but I mean, how can we do that? And I'll open the floor.
Two things before the floor is open. First, obviously, communication is key, and I think the first segment has pretty well delineated that. Secondly, I need to reiterate, just be sure to identify yourself when you are speaking if you're not called on by your name. This is very important for people who can't or won't be able to differentiate between any of the 18 nerds in this room. So, just keep it in mind.
So, want to kick off this first topic?
Floor's open. Who wants it?
I think Goss wants it.
No.
I agree. I have something to say.
Okay, Cease, go ahead.
It's the launch is in a month. What's going to be in launch? That's the questions causing all of the frustrations. Nobody knows anything about what's going to happen next, and people want their wishful thinking ideas of things. People want design documents that are a year and a half old now. People want stuff that only exists in their imagination. People want their own crazy proposals because we cannot form any opinion about anything we don't know about. Launch is a month away. What's going on?
I think
It boils down to communication.
Mikhail and then William Knight. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
One thing I just wanted to add when it came to the whole launch in a month thing is one thing that PGI doesn't seem to really care about is in a month their game is going to be subject to review by everybody, and not just the gaming companies that are tagging along with them and everything, and the reviewers that are giving them good press. And I think that that's going to really hurt them in the end if they don't start working to get this in a better direction in a game.
I think this is Piper. I think without knowing what's going to happen, they're lining people up for being disappointed with community warfare. Yeah, we could have our socks blown off, and I really hope that does happen. But let's say the reviewers come out and start interviewing people in the community, and the community thinks, well, we were expecting a nice big inner sphere map where we could change the borders and we can forge our own destinies and we could finally trounce Lao or whatever and subjugate them completely to Clan Wolf, whatever the situation is. But the game doesn't allow you to change the borders, let's say. That person they talk to is going to be so angry that they're not going to get anything positive out of it at all. And we're talking, if we're the organization of Save MechWarrior Online, if our idea is to make MechWarrior work or to help it succeed, then yeah, I think maybe they need to tell us what's going on so that we don't go into the launch expecting one thing and then being disappointed, because that will kill their game. And I love MechWarrior, and all my guys do.
I just want to say, I mean, does PGI's approach strike you as a game development company that's incredibly confident in the product that they're selling? The closed doors, the secrecy, the absolute silence with regards to the players. Does it strike you as a company that feels like, yeah, we've got, a great thing to offer you guys. We can't wait to show it to you? Because it doesn't come off like that to me.
Yeah, it's like every other mech project I've ever seen.
It certainly doesn't come across that. This is Dust Muffins. Certainly doesn't come across that way to me, which may be a complete misrepresentation of the way things actually are. I mean, who knows? They may have some amazing plan back there, but they have articulated it very poorly with the community.
Okay.
I'd like to think they have some amazing plan back there as well, but I've seen no evidence of it, and I would love it if they could be more engaging and have polls, run ideas past the beta tester. The people who want this game to succeed, and that would really make, I think, a lot of people feel like they have a bigger stake in this game. And
Knight.
Opinions.
Sorry, Dust Muffins. Knight first, and then Soy, Moss, and Serial Effects, I think it was.
I feel we're dancing around in circles here. We've already stated that we'd like more communication. We don't really need to keep on going on about it.
Fair enough. So one of the chat guys, Obsidian Spectre, we should be focusing on coming up with a plan to get officially recognized community representatives. That's something I think is achievable, and it gives us a starting point to address the problems with the game proper. I mean, without PGI giving us our blessing, obviously that can never happen. But do you guys think that setting up what do you call it, community representatives is something we should spend time organizing, or what? Again, open to the floor.
This is Seriothrax, and I do. That's one of the reasons why that open letter in Dust I linked was so effective, is because it came from a single representative, a single contact point. And within a day of that being posted, they actually had feedback from the developers saying, this is how it is, we understand your points, and we'll see about changing going forward. Or this is why we can't change this one bit.
Every company's culture is different, though.
Mm-hmm.
I have two comments. First about PGI, like that.
So this is Soy talking, right?
Yeah. So I'm repping DVAcopter.com. Check it out. And my opinion on the PGI thing, I don't think that has so much to do with PGI. I think it has to do more with IGP. Because consider for a moment, how come PGI had the unseen shit in their pocket, and IGP probably pressured them to market to do some sort of promotion. Maybe they like scrambled to do the unseen shit, but I think that they had it. You know, I think they have to hedge their expectations and the community's expectations and the marketing side of it. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that the people they originally made this game for, I don't think that's who's gonna be moving units in this game 5 years later. And with regard, what was the other thing we're just talking about?
Communication being key. Community reps.
Yeah, okay. That type of shit is gonna organically pop up after community warfare. Once we have like a sort of metric to quantify, there's gonna be people, regardless of where they are on that spectrum, that are able to articulate compelling arguments from that position. But until then, we're just testing. The representation will organically pop up as we go into community warfare.
To answer what Anders was saying earlier.
Ghost Dragon?
Yeah, sorry. You raised the point about, what's the role of lights, what's the role of mediums, heavies, assaults. What we've seen as far as balance is that everything has been reactionary. They made Ghost Heat because they wanted to react to pinpoint damage. It doesn't seem like they've had a vision for what they want each role to do. One of their very first dev posts when they launched the forums was, role warfare. But we've hardly seen that. I mean, lights don't really fit into a well-defined role as, ECM or scouts or, more tactical usages. We don't see a prevalence of medium mechs. We see a prevalence of assaults for very obvious reasons. And we did have weight balancing for a while, but then that disappeared and we got ELO. And it looks like maybe that ELO and crossed with weight balancing, there just might not be the players to support that. And, that obviously raises questions. I mean, here we are, there's probably some of the most hardcore MechWarrior fans in here coming together for this. And if a lot of us aren't playing the game right now, what is that going to say for people who don't have any attachment to the IP when this game launches in September?
Mouse would like to add to that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So,
This is Moss.
Yeah, this is Matt speaking. Just to go on from what Gauss was saying there, with the reactionary balance, I mean, that to me, and I believe this is starting to become more apparent as time goes on, is it just looks like the system design for the entirety of MechWarrior is just convoluted. And this is MechWarrior Online. It's convoluted and broken. I think that they need to really take a step back at this point and figure out what they want the game to be, because every little element within the game currently is sort of this mishmash of, weight classes, armor levels versus hitbox sizes, speed versus weaponry. Everything can go on everything within reason as long as you've got space. So then it's just all about what is the best mech with the best space and the best hitboxes. It needs to be more than that. There needs to have various levels of complexity, which is not easy. It's not particularly difficult to implement. They just need to take that step back and just go, right, let's just think about this for a second and let's actually try and make this a little bit more than World of Tanks reskinned. I mean, I was watching some videos of World of Tanks today and they're just the same. It's so much the same game. You can't just take one game and then put a different set of fucking art assets in there and expect it to be perfect. They have to fucking just nail this down now and actually do it before the game comes out, because as people have said, this thing's going to get reviewed pretty soon, and with the way things are going, it's probably not going to do as well as they might think.
A quick technical point. There's been some confusion about what ELO or ELO is. It's a matchmaking system that attempts to match players of approximately like skill, and in practice matches players of approximately like win percentage. That's, if you're wondering what people are talking about when they mention ELO or LO, that's what it is.
It is not, for the record, Electric Light Orchestra.
Unfortunately, no. Lazy Eye and Mikhail, please.
Yeah, this is Lazy Eye. Following on from Mouse, I mean, that to me, as have we discussed Star Citizen? I mean, you look at the material coming out of Star Citizen,
Lazy Eye?
Star Citizen is interesting. A lot of my buddies have been
Well,
talking about.
hang on, Piper.
Hold on.
Looks like we just lost Lazy Eye.
It's quite late over here.
Okay, Lazy Eye, we'll come back to you. Mikhail, you are next, and then Piper.
Yeah, just one other thing I wanted to bring up, especially when it comes to open launch and reviews, is one game that I liked that came out this year was SimCity. And I know a lot of people have bagged on it for certain issues or another, but when I checked the Metacritic before the game was released, it was sitting at a 91. And through half a dozen reviewers, they loved the game. But then the moment the game actually went live and they had their problems with maintaining the servers for the server load that came with the game, I mean, that just dropped their score down. And I think that really did hurt the sell of that game. And I don't want to see that happen to this game as well.
Okay, Piper?
Well, somebody mentioned Star Citizen. A lot of my friends have been talking about it, and everybody's excited about what it's going to be about. But it was similar to the beginning when PGI announced MechWarrior Online. Everybody thinks that Star Citizen is going to be the be-all and end-all of games, just like we thought MechWarrior Online would be. It's too early to judge Star Citizen and compare it, because it just hasn't happened yet. Also, Chris Roberts has been making games forever. PGI is a new company, so that's also kind of an unfair comparison. So wait till those guys get burned out that are making Star Citizen and see how they start reacting.
You say that, however, Star Citizen, they are talking to the community. They're giving information out.
Well, so did PGI early on.
Not much.
Yeah, I think it's at this point, again, with the game so far out in development, and referring to Star Citizen, not MechWarrior Online, that they have it's a perfect pearl to everybody because nothing has been set in stone. Are they engaging the community? Maybe a little more. They've got like a weekly show where they take questions and all this kind of stuff, and there's the 24-hour live streams and all this kind of thing. So perhaps they're doing a better job now, but that now is easy. Now is promising the world. It's when they have to deliver on their deliverables is when we get down to brass tacks. And I mean, comparatively to MechWarrior, we had Paul back in closed beta who would hop on a Comstar TeamSpeak and he would talk to people, he would chat with people. That's how he formed the Secret Squirrel Society and all that kind of stuff. And there was engagement. He would go kick the server and release a bunch of beta invites. So, I mean, there was a level of engagement which has just sort of been bled dry as we get into the march towards launch. So at this point, okay, it's now 6 minutes to the hour. What I'll do is I'll allow one last comment, question to the town hall speakers, and then I think we're at a wrap here. How does that sound? By your agreed silence, I think that sounds great. Just to kick this off, one question that I have is that we have, through this fantastic network, we have some who may not agree, but we have some people who are or work closely with No Guts, No Galaxy. Are they an avenue to pursue to see if we can't use of the developers to solicit or to conduit our feedback to? We'll go from the top or next.
Well, I am an NGNG TV streamer. Recently, I have taken a hiatus due to real life issues and just the burnout on the game. That's one of the reasons I'm here. So I'll play NGNG representative for now. It is always a possibility. NGNG TV, I know many of the guys there. We tend to have a good time and kick back, and by far we would love to help out. I'm sure all of the NGNG TV members would. We tend to be able to voice our opinions a little more freely on NGNG TV, and that's something that we'd be more than happy to help out with, I'm sure, as long as it's in a positive and adult nature. But as to No Guts, No Galaxy, I will not speak for Phil and Darren and their choices. They're the founders. They did their thing, and they have their own agendas, as holding on to and establishing NGNG as a whole. So I couldn't guarantee that, nor would I rely on that.
I mean, okay, that's fine. Soy, what do you have to think or say?
Well, NGNG guys are good dudes. They're good guys. Personally, I haven't given a damn about anything they've had to say since the game, started moving. But more power to them, dude. You feel me? Do your thing, guys. Whatever.
Mouse?
It's kind of a tough one for me because I knew Phil at least and somewhat Darren before they started NGNG back in Living Legends. When Phil ran Wolves in Exile and some other stuff was going on back then. I'm sure that if you can give them some stuff to talk to the Garth about or whoever else, and they'll actually, kind of talk about it, then maybe that could be good. But to me, they are kind of the CNN of MechWarrior Online, so it's kind of a bit tough to sort of say, are they going to be able to give us really what we want? I don't know.
Sorry, just to interject, Vernix and Moss, you guys seem to be dancing around something. You're saying things without saying things, and I mean, this is a safe space. We're not judging people, but can you elaborate further on what you guys are dancing around, or are we just going to leave it at that?
Yeah,
You want it?
Go ahead.
You work there.
Okay. I work there. Yeah, for free. It's not that I'd say that there's something that we're dancing around. It's just that, and as many of you all know, NGNG TV and NGNG, while holding the NGNG portion, are very separate in what they do. In NGNG TV, we're a lot more, we're just your average guys being streamers, streaming what we see and giving our opinions. And obviously we try to, make it entertaining and be positive. NGNG though, I mean, they're, for lack of a better word, they are the main establishment towards the devs, and to try to take advantage of that is definitely something we should at least try. What's the worst that happens by getting in contact with Phil and Darren or the NGNG team and asking them to bring something up or pass this along to the devs? There's certainly no issue there. But obviously, being the main focus for the devs between the community and themselves, their what's the word?
Credibility?
Well, no, I wouldn't say the credibility. Their will to maintain that and to not upset PGI or to come off in a bad light to PGI, I think is very pertinent in the eyes of that crew. So that's why I brought up being very adult and mature with our petition or requests, because the more mature we come across towards that, is the better it will be. If you want to start poking and trying to crucify PGI, it just won't come off good at all, and PGI and NGNG will just immediately go, yeah, we're not going to take that to PGI because there's no point.
They don't want to bite the hand that feeds.
Exactly. And they don't even really get fed. I mean, yeah, Darren and Phil get their contracts here and there for pennies, but I mean, it's cool being the face of the community, and I don't think that they ever want to destroy that.
That's actually, if we want to get into that, do you think that NGNG is the face of the community with that sort of existing relationship?
More like the face of the devs.
Yeah, it's probably more the face of the devs. I wouldn't say that they're actually the community. I'd hate to actually say that because I know a lot of great community members. I mean, and none of them are NGNG. But they're the connection. I mean, right now, that with the lack of communication that we have going on, that's the communication we get. I mean, as measly as it is, or your opinions of anything, that is what you get.
And that's the problem.
And it's a big problem. But when that's what we have, we need to try to take advantage of it and be careful with it as well.
I also just like to add a little bit there. Yeah, just to add my little two pennies on this. Yeah, no, that's cool for cynics. I do agree with that. But to me, NGNG are definitely the firefighters of the MechWarrior Online community. You can see it in how Phil does his videos. He runs what most people would call bad builds, and he does well in them sometimes because he's a good player. He was one of the better players in Living Legend. And he proves that there is some degree of viability, but at the same point, he would do a lot better in builds that fit the metagame.
Oh, of course.
But the impression that they create is that that's fine. And again, when I say firefighting, I mean that they're there to address the problems that the community creates and brings up. And I just don't think that the interests are aligned here between our group and that group, because whilst we're raising things to try to get them dealt with, they're kind of putting them down, so to speak, to try to calm things.
There's a very
Can
good
I happen?
comment from the community, from the text chat, that NGNG is a walled garden, that they're as much an insulation as they are from communication.
If Serial Thrash can contribute to that.
Go right ahead.
There was actually a post after Ask the Devs came out yesterday where someone was lamenting that PGI now only communicates through like cherry-picked Ask the Dev questions and through NGNG. And Phil Reddit got a bit defensive, admitted afterwards that he jumped the gun because it wasn't directed at him, and basically said that, well, don't be jealous of the relationship. If you want something similar, put in the effort. And I ended up actually starting a discussion with him over it, in that trying to make him see that our issue isn't with him having the relationship, it's with PGI not going anywhere except to that. I mean, like, recommending Hunchback Forest Ps with LRM5s might be hilarious, but I don't really have an issue with that. And so, yeah, I do think we can go to NGNG. The issue, again, is whether PGI will listen, because in this entire time, the ball's in PGI's court.
Can I add to this?
Go ahead. Just introduce yourself.
I used to be, this is Piper.
Hey, Piper.
I've off and on podcasted with a group called Eternal Warriors, which is a Warhammer 40k fan podcast. And we often, when we talked, we thought about sometimes, how far do we want to go in attacking Games Workshop, the company that makes the game, because we want to make sure that, well, whatever. Here's the situation with NGNG, is they get stuff. Bombadil puts on those nice little those advertisements for the new maps or new mechs and stuff like that. They get a lot of little perks from PGI, and they will not risk that. However, I think that they could do something like have a special about us, where that whole thing is not so much everybody hops on NGNG to try to get kernels information, and they can't say anything or don't know anything. But maybe if maybe Phil and them interview the Town Hall Save MWO group, and we could talk about what we're all about, and that way they've got a script, they know what's going on, they know they're not going to get trapped, they're more likely to make a thing of it. And if they do, this is the next step, if they are able to, will do an interview with us, then we got to have something physical that we can maybe also push forward, because the time is running short. September 17th is that far away. If we want to get the devs' attention, then we got to, whether it's a form letter that every single one of us that's listening sends in a form letter, asking devs the same question or something, each one of them, or whatever we need to do. I think No Guts, No Galaxy is part of it. And I think they would probably interview us if we were able to script it out beforehand so that they don't get in trouble and lose what they have earned.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree.
Okay, so hold on. Serial Thrax was done. Ace Archer's next. We'll get to you guys in order. Trust me, we won't skip anyone. Ace Archer.
I pretty much have to agree with Piper, saying that interview is a great idea. If they could interview us in a scripted at least mostly safe manner, I think that could get it could get hard, or it could get the message across to a large demographic. Because I don't know, I think that we probably don't have the same people who listen to NGNG here in this room. And while I mean some people probably do, there is a large demographic available via NGNG.
Okay, Howard.
From my perspective, you know, NGNG is worth a shot, but I'd call it 50-50 at best, trying to get their ear and getting past them to anybody that would hear us. You know, it's worth a try, but at the same time, we should be trying to figure out alternate means of getting some form of communication going with the guys above to, you know, establish steady communication in one form or another. Do I have a direct idea on that? No, but I think that's what we should be working on more than anything.
Gostragon.
I'm just gonna point out I like the NGNG guys. You know, I remember talking with I think it was Phil once, and you know I was just having a discussion with him about competition and whatnot, and he promoted the on the NGNG Facebook page the SJR versus DV8 match, and we had quite a few viewers for that. So I don't think they don't have anything against competition whatsoever. Not at all. Obviously they want this community to work too. They want this game to thrive. However, again, the resentment is not against PG or NGNG for having the ear of the devs. It's the fact that devs don't go anywhere else. The devs will always try and flow very important information instead through themselves in more succinct posts. Hey, go listen to NGNG. You know, they want to try and gain a fan base of NGNG. You know, they want to just almost synthetically create it by forcing us to go there for important information, instead of actually reaching out to more people with with different interests. I mean, again, I like the NGNG guys, but most of their content I couldn't give two flying fucks about. It just simply does not interest me. And I mean, most of the people here, it does not interest either. And again, the builds that really are usually awful and whatnot. Again, I appreciate them for being really into the game like we are, but their interests and what a lot of us care about are not the same thing.
Lazy Eye.
Yeah, I just wanted to support what Piper said. I think certainly looking at the forum traffic, you get this impression that a lot of people just think that we are a bunch of overprivileged, self-appointed, sort of do-gooders who, actually don't have a clue. And I think that establishing our credibility is something that we could use NGNG for, in terms of saying to the wider community, hey, look, we're not just in it for ourselves. We're interested in the wider future of the game, and we are actually sensible people.
Mikhail.
Yeah, I think pursuing NGNG would be a great idea. I think at the very least we should find out where they think what do they think of us? I mean, what is their position on #SaveMWO and the community that's forming around it and stuff, and to go from there. I mean, if they actually think that there's some validity to what we bring to the table and everything, could they give us a spot on an interview or something like that? I think that would be a really great idea.
Cool.
I would like to jump in very briefly, just 5 seconds on that. Giving, my actual experience, because Anders and I and Stalker of the Violent Combat Robot Show, we all went on NGNG one time, and it was kind of a shit show. We didn't really get to put much out there, and their chat the entire time raged and foamed at the very concept that we were allowed on the program. I worry that Save MWO might actually go worse with the NGNG crowd than just VCRS.
True, but we have to take that risk.
Well, look, I mean no disrespect. This is Soy again. I mean no disrespect, but they're like a mainstream type of thing, okay? They represent like the middle of the road, okay? Their interests are, hey, I like Mech Warrior, I like BattleTech, I like shooting things with robots, cool. I'm a varying degree of skill. That's about it. They're not competitive players. They don't know what competitive shit is. They don't know what the meta is. They're just having fun, and that's respectable. They also don't represent the little guy who's doing his own thing, the outlier player, the guy who does some rogue shit. He doesn't fall into that at all either, the solo player. So it's a middle of the road thing, and if you're trying to shed some light on these types of things from different perspectives because they have a high platform for it, that's respectable. But in terms of like trying to influence them, like, hey, you guys need to like open your fucking eyes, they don't care. They don't.
Yeah.
That's not their position at all.
Can I just go off that really quickly? I mean, NGNG goes for breadth. You know, they talk about just not MechWarrior, but BattleTech, and they bring in people like, I think, Randall Bills or something, and they talk about more of the overall history of the IP, which is great, but they go for breadth. But I think a lot of people, especially like Run Hard or Die teams and players, they go like, we're far more interested in the meta, the very specifics about gameplay, you know, what works, what doesn't, you know, breakdowns of strategies, you know, tactics, execution, very specific things about how to play the game at its best levels. And they don't really do anything like that. So rather, they're more breadth. There's a lot of our interests are more for depth. It's just two different approaches.
Just to mention the difference between what we tend to focus on and what they tend to focus on. As much as they do focus on the moderates and the people that may be more interested in what a battle mech in theory is capable of doing rather than what actually it can do in MechWarrior Online at this current state of the metagame.
Amen.
Yeah, one thing to think about though is that a great example was raised by, again, Kong on their most recent cast where they talked about Mac1, who runs the YouTube channel Mac's Corner. And it's a reasonably popular British guy who does some MechWarrior Online videos as well as a load of other. And he's just generally pretty funny and pretty easygoing, but he does get mad about some stuff. And the changes in the game and the way that systems have been implemented, which have been attempts to fix problems but have ultimately just created more, have actually meant that he's ended up quitting. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't agree with him on a lot of things that he says, but that's because he doesn't really understand the game that well. But that doesn't mean that his opinions aren't valid and that his interest in the game isn't valid and that he shouldn't be expected to be able to go out and have fun. Now, fun is relative. You know, fun shouldn't be, in a game like this, going out in a Stalker and one-shotting every fucking mech that you see. That should not be fun. That's abuse of fucking bullshit game mechanics. But they need to find out how to make the game fun for everybody without having to people needing to rely on stuff like that. And then when it gets taken away, quitting.
Very well said. We'll move down to Protection, who hasn't had anything to say yet, and we'll keep going down.
I'm kind of neutral on the NGNG thing. It might work, it might not. There's not really that much to lose by trying it. But I do want to say, you know, and it's a little arrogant, I guess, but we can safely say that most of the people here are representing a vast majority of the most competitive players in the game. It's safe to say that, quite bluntly, almost any one of our teams could beat PGI at their own game. The idea that we could be wrong on balance, or that our opinions aren't relevant on balance, is really insulting. We seem to know what we're doing, as anyone can tell by our win-loss ratios and how well we do in the game. The idea that, you know, we have nothing to contribute on the discussion of balance is wrong, in my opinion.
Playing on something Mouse said, I'm not the player that Protection is describing. I'm not one of the people with even a positive win-loss ratio, but when you have to nerf something, the main way that you keep people from quitting, you keep people from getting as angry that you took away their toys, is to explain to them why they're benefiting from it, why it makes the game better, why it helps the game to be nerfing this, that, or the other. And that's somewhere where PGI has fallen down very hard. They've failed to give people any good understanding of what things like Ghost Heat are doing, what their long-term plan is to make more options viable. So people who are playing, you know, their all-medium laser blackjack are getting nerfed, or people are playing their AC2 Jaeger mech and getting nerfed, and they have not necessarily know what's happening, but they have no idea why it's being done to them. and why they benefit from this.
I agree completely, and I do realize that balance needs to extend to all levels of play. I'm just saying that the idea that, they can just ignore us because, what do we know about game balance is a dumb argument.
I'm just saying that these principles apply to all levels of skill, that people want to know why it benefits the game for such and such change to be made, even if they're playing at a skill level where if the numbers were chosen at random, that it wouldn't affect their play very much.
Absolutely. Communication, again, probably the highlight topic of the night.
Yeah, on following on from Siege to Hope, this Lazy Eye. It's a kind of, I pug, and I like to think that I understand the tabletop, and I use builds that stick with the character of the original designs, and that's because it's fun to me. That's the thing that's fun. The whole, running around with some LRM, APPC, and some SRMs and lasers, because that's kind of what MechWarrior is. It's about having this robot that's got that flexibility built in so that you can actually do things at different ranges and that sort of thing. And I think this is a wider point that I've wanted to bring up is the relationship with the tabletop. When I'm talking about the tabletop, what I'm talking about is in terms of, say that this was a baseball game, right? And what they've done is they've created a baseball game where you've got a pitcher and a batter. And it doesn't quite work the same as a real baseball game, because they don't have fielders. And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. When I talk about the tabletop, I'm talking about, hey, you've put in the pitcher, you've put in the batter. What about the fielders? What about the catcher? And that sort of thing. And that's the kind of, when I'm talking about the tabletop, it's about bringing in that broader sense of the overall, structure of the game.
Right. Very, very good.
There's a point here about top-down balance and why it isn't just about competitive players.
Dust Muffins?
Okay.
Okay. Dust Muffin from Snowraven again. I would definitely love to have someone speak to NGNG because, like it was mentioned, they go for the middle of the road, a wide range of players, and I think explaining to a wide range of players why it's important to have these kind of top-down balancing mechanics, let them understand what we actually stand for. I read a lot of comments on Reddit and such, and it's just, everyone's just upset because their favorite build got nerfed or something. People are mad because they just can't use 6 PPCs anymore. That's what Save MWO is. And a lot of people have these misconceptions about it. They don't really want to listen to the recordings. They don't care what we have to say. So I think reaching out to them, explaining to them how these balance mechanics that will affect the uppermost layer of play will trickle down to your average pugger. The depth that we run into in the blue competition, the problems we run into, and with the depth we delve into it immediately, becomes quite problematic quickly. But down the road, when Johnny Pug is playing, he's eventually going to run into the same problems, and he'll get bored. Just so happens we do it a lot quicker, and we find the problems quicker.
Pretty reasonable. Anders, who's next?
All right. Varen, go ahead.
Hi there. Again, thank you for hosting this. I think this has been very good. I think the shorter formats worked really well. Just speaking to the idea of NG and getting on there, I think it's a good idea if we can do it. I think it goes back to sort of the community rep thing we were dealing with earlier, right? Where that was sort of put to us. That might be a good way of sort of kicking that off, right? You get a few of us up there, you get a few of the unit leaders up there, and just say our piece. We don't have to get No Guts, No Galaxy to agree with us, but I think communicating our thoughts and presenting our side of the story in an adult and mature fashion, even if it's a scripted situation, it's better than nothing. So if anyone does have those linkages, go for it. But we do need to be thinking about things other than NG though, in terms of reaching out. And I think that might be a discussion more for things like Mechalingua in terms of the specifics. But I think what was discussed here was great.
Okay, White Knight. And then to wrap it up, sorry, go ahead.
Definition: Mechalingua is the communication channel that we've been using to organize this. It is open to anyone who'd like to join, either speaking for themselves or speaking on behalf of their leadership. You can contact Stalker with 2 R's, myself, or Anders to find out more about that. Your best contact long term, if you're listening to this as a recording, is Stalker with 2 R's on the official forums at a BM. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No problem. William Knight, ELP. I think we could ask the No Guts, No Galaxy crew to at least put forward a request for more information. It can't hurt to ask.
As I said, I think whenever I go into No Guts, No Galaxy, I listen sometimes and hop in and talk. They screen all of their questions specifically, just because they want to stay safe. Well, if we have a scripted interview already set up, that takes care of all of that stuff that they're afraid of getting said online that's going to cause all the controversy they're trying to avoid. In this case, if more of a documentary of what we're about rather than a rant, is what we need to put towards them.
Stalker, nice of you to make it. Why don't you have your 2 cents?
Hey, Stalker. Stalker, fix your goddamn code.
Can't hear you, Stalker.
No, seriously, the access code thing.
No, I did. I told him to do that.
Well, did he update Mumble?
Maybe not.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
While he does
Fucking
that, can I,
Christ.
So anyway,
ask you guys a quick question?
Go ahead.
Can you guys envision, with CW coming, some sort of stratified, balance, wherein there's an arbitrary level below the competitive? Like, let's say the balance that they're doing right now affects the competitive, the CW, we're taking planets, we're doing this and that. The pros are taking care of business. But then can you also imagine something where there is no ELO, there's a casual lobby drop type thing, you go in, and maybe they have mechs on rotation. That keeps it fresh, that keeps the power in checks, that arbitrarily limits out, like power builds of the flavor or whatever that are going to be addressed in a patch or whatever. Can you guys see that? Do you think that's a good idea?
And just before we get to it, we'll say that this is the last topic of discussion. If there's anything else afterwards, we might get to one thing and then we'll call it a night. So yeah, open to the floor. Go ahead.
So are you saying a controlled public matchmaker thing, or
Yeah,
talking about as
imagine-
opposed to private matchmaking?
I mean, with CW, doesn't ELO kind of go out the window? Because we're doing important matches and this and that, and then there's also like a lobby drop. So if you're doing the lobby drop, you could arbitrarily limit the types of power that is seen in it, and then so that way the power builds are only really used at the top play.
So like a limited as opposed to constructed, if you want to use Magic the Gathering terms.
Correct, sir.
Boy, I'm a nerd.
Well, I think that with Community Warfare, from what clues we've had, the matchmaker is there so that when we drop, let's say we got to take Planet Utopia, they're going to matchmake us with a defender that is of similar skill level to us to provide us a good experience. It's not like we know Smoke Jaguars on Planet Utopia and we're going to go after them. We don't. I don't think we're actually going to be fighting the defenders of the planets a lot of times. You're right though. Otherwise, ELO would be thrown out the window for that. But yeah, in a private match situation, ELO goes out the window.
Protection here is the whole idea, I mean, there's a lot of rampant speculation going on about community warfare here, but I mean, we really need to kind of wonder, do we want a situation in which we're not constructing mechs anymore when we're just kind of using some sort of default selection of stock mechs? And then that still has its own built-in...
If the nerfing continues unabated, because I got shot by this and that, then we are left with like really bad mechs. And at that point, isn't the logical end result of, we're all using the same piece of crap, so who's the best, right? Isn't that the best way to quantify it? If we're limiting like the power that's consistently seen to begin with?
Perhaps, but I mean, again, I think that a stock mech mode or limited or whatever you want to call it is beyond the scope of the discussion today. So what we're going to do is we're going to shelve that for the next town hall meeting or when it becomes appropriate. I do appreciate, again, you bringing that up because it is definitely something to talk about because it does illustrate the issues that the game has with the new player experience and the trauma system and all that stuff, but that's beyond the scope of today's talk. Is that not fair?
Mm-hmm. Balance
Okay.
is more than just one way. That's all.
Perfect. Stalker, do you have anything to say? You just got back from real life.
Now that I have speech, yay! Turning on my microphone is the best way to talk.
Oh, you fucking puppy!
Thank you all for coming tonight. Sorry I wasn't able to make it till late. I did want to share one anecdote and one observation before we get ready to close. My anecdote is I actually spent a month and a half not paying MechWarrior Online until last week. And then I patched and I jumped in game. And I spent about a good solid evening or so playing. And what I realized with 12v12 and playing this game again with fresh eyes is that I was not really having any fun. Like I was running with this group of people, this group of just pubby hordes, and we were trying to stay organized. We were trying to do a good job, but it was very disorganized. It was just clumps of robots running around shooting at each other, and it was very disorganized and just very not enjoyable at the very end of it. It just kind of drug on and on and on. And I realized that at that moment that MechWarrior Online was no longer a game I would enjoy playing at this point. Just the state of the game as it is, coming back to it after a month and a half, it was no longer at that state where I was completely happy just playing it just for fun, just to go in and have a good time. And so I felt kind of vindicated in a way that this isn't just didn't do this for no reason. Like the game really has lost something along the way, and even coming back to it, I'm not seeing that fun. So it's not just competitive players. I've experienced it coming back to it sort of from a non-competitive aspect, and I've definitely had a bunch of folks approach me from a pubby standpoint and say, we're feeling the same way. This game just isn't as fun as it was, and we wish it could be that way again. From an observation standpoint, I just want to say for NGNG, I've known Phil and Bombadil for a very long time. I do know that if we approach them, they would be happy to have us on their program to discuss it. However, it will become, or it will have a tendency to become, a debate, and because that's the way Phil rolls. Bombadil not so much, but it will tend to skew that way, and we have to be aware of that going into NGNG as a podcast. Is a valuable tool. It's a valuable way to reach out to the community, but whatever we say can and will be edited to suit whatever kind of structure they're trying to create there, and that just has to be. We just have to be aware of that going in. That's going to be the situation. It's totally, I think, valuable and essential that we get this message out there, and make sure that people are listening to it and hear it in multiple venues. So again, thank you guys for coming. I just wanted to share all that. Really proud of you guys for sticking with this. Again, this is all y'all's thing. It's not my thing. I just kicked it off, and I'm happy to see everyone meeting here tonight.
Ben.
Very well said. So, is there anyone that wants to say one last thing before we move to the conclusion of today's town hall meeting?
Better get in the queues tonight, boys.
Give us lobbies.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can squeeze something in, Anders.
Yeah, for sure, Matt. Go ahead.
Right, okay. Alright, so just coming to what Stalker was talking about there, and about having fun with robots. I wanted to invite everyone to maybe have a little bit of a chance to gain some perspective on things. Now, I know there's been talk in the chat box recently about boycotts and all sorts of things like that. I'm not going to go down that kind of line with what I'm suggesting. But what I would like to propose is that the community at large, these people that everyone here is representing, and all these units, perhaps looks at giving MechWarrior Living Legends a try for some weekend events that I can organise. I would like to give you guys the opportunity to come and play in that game that I played for many years, in an environment which is what made it great. And I think that just for the sake of relaxing with some robot action and maybe getting involved in something a little bit different with different previously established rule sets and ways of working, balance, and other such things which most people that I know have said that work at the moment better than things do in online currently, MechWarrior Online currently. And if it gets to that point where people are sort of thinking to themselves, you know what, I'm actually preferring this over what MechWarrior Online is at the moment, and we talk about it, in fairly up-spirited kind of ways in videos and podcasts and such like, then maybe at that point PGI might get that message as well, which is, well, hang on a second, there's this mod project which is supposed to be dead, but it isn't, because there's a core community that has kept it going, and then all these competitive units and all these people that just want to try something a bit different are willing to actually move over because they're getting the experience they want. It is an older game, but some people would say it's better. I've already got promise that as long as we can get a reasonable number of players, we can get some planetary leagues set up. I can already get server advice going for people to set up servers so that we can run no CD key checking, completely free crisis demoed installs with MWLL, so you don't even need to buy the game to be able to play it. And I'd like to maybe invite some people for some events in a few weeks, which hopefully will mirror a style that we did back in the Villages about a year ago, which was known for being one of the best events that we ever did, which was like a full 12-hour day planetary conquest thing on a map where we had like 80 plus players and about 4 different servers, and we were all throwing people into all these different games all the time, and the map was always shifting, and it was awesome. So that's my suggestion to the community. Even if we got a third of the units that are represented here over there, that'd be like 5 times the amount of bloody units we ever got anyway, because we only ever had about 6. So that was the worst thing about that game, is it just never really properly took off, and I would love to see just people try it just to see what they think, and just to maybe just chill out but still enjoy MechWarrior.
Yep, and thanks for that, Mouse. We spread that around Goon Space, and people were excited about that idea earlier today. I do want to mention that everyone is welcome here to our Mumble if you want to voice chat and coordinate with other people playing MechWarrior Living Legends, trying to figure out a server, that sort of thing, figure out commands, controls, that kind of situation. This is an open Mumble. You guys are welcome here and to coordinate, so feel free to.
And if you want to actually play MechWarrior Online, we do have the space for that as well.
What?
I know it's a radical idea, but maybe it just may happen.
I also have something that I want to address some of the concerns that I saw posted on the official forums and Reddit. When we're talking about MechWarrior Living Legends, the main goal is to give people another perspective on what could be done. The goal is not, PGI fix this shit or we're all quitting your game. It's not some sort of exodus to Living Legends. It's an attempt to get another perspective, and also maybe just chill out with something that isn't as frustrating if you're frustrated with it.
Yeah, again, I recommend you all join the 12-man queue so DV8 can copter you and make you exodus from the queue. Have a good night.
Thank you for
Love you, Cleveland.
Thank you for that.
Killed it.
Much appreciated. So Piper, you'll be the last thing, and then I'll move to wrap this up and call it a night.
My buddy Moku down there, he pointed out that the announcement for this one wasn't in its own thread for this town hall meeting. So next time we have a town hall meeting, we should make up a new thread, town hall number 3. That's it.
Yep. Okay. Very good. So, gentlemen, ladies, everyone that came and is listening across the world, thank you kindly, and we appreciate the use of your hour and a half or more, depending on how involved you are in this stuff. Once again, on a go-forward basis, we're going to attempt to engage PGI through No Guts, No Galaxy, perhaps through some media sites, those kind of things, just to see if we can't continue our rational, reasoned response in an attempt to engage PGI, to engage the community at large, because that's really what we want. We don't want specific feedback or specific changes or anything like that. We just want to know where we're headed more than anything. Obviously, the whole point of today was the fact that was stressed by every single person that talked and every single point that they made, more or less, that communication is key and it's severely lacking at PGI. And that's upsetting to a great deal of people. Obviously, we've got 107 or odd just here in the mumble listening to this stuff about that kind of thing. So obviously we've got our work cut out for us with respect to how we're going to try and get that taken care of. The other thing that we're going to do, and again, this is up to the people who wish to take part in it, it's under no obligation to do so, is get a little bit of breathing room, get a little bit of perspective, try out MWLL. It won't cost you a dime. You don't need to buy Crisis. You can play without having to purchase that game. And, just see how the other half lives. That gives you some perspective. That gives you some ability just to say, hey, listen, this is something I like. This is something I don't like. This is something I think is a good idea. This is something I don't. And just know that, it's not, the ball isn't 100% in PGI's court when it comes to these sorts of things. I want to thank each and every person who spoke today. Vernix, Moss, Seriothax, Ace Archer, Alan Wren, myself, Alward, Seastoke, Gosh Dragon, Lazy Eye, Michael, Piper from the Devil Dogs Protection, S, our Dust Muffin Stalker, Varen Korska from HHOD, William Knight from ELP and WM0. My apologies for not knowing where you guys are all from. If you're not in the clan tags, that's my apologies. Deadfire for helping us stream, Wales Gray for helping us stream, always Solo Drakman for helping us set this up. And again, to anyone that I missed, I apologize. And the people that are listening right now, you guys are the community. Whether you're an insignificant or significant number, you guys are part of the community. You guys are the community. You guys are significant. Don't ever lose sight of that. And we just need to keep this positive and keep the ball rolling.
Exactly. We need to keep the ball rolling. It just rolls directly into this. We've already had a Brit go for the baseball metaphor tonight. So just to wrap up, I'd like to have an American go for the cricket metaphor. This is an international test. This is an international test, guys. It's not one day. We are going to keep going. Save MWO is not done with our work. They can pile up all the runs they like. We will always have the chance to bat. So,
dear PGI, please don't make this game as incomprehensible as cricket.
I absolutely love
Thanks
that
for
guy.
playing.
So again,
penis.
the Jabber channel is always open, hopefully. Again, the Mumble server is always open. And guys, if you want to get onto the Mechalingua sort of room on Skype to discuss this stuff on a go-forward basis, that's open to anyone. And we hope to see you guys in any one of these media extravaganzas. The next town hall meeting will probably be a little bit before the launch in September. If we can get sort of an NG response soon, then obviously we're going to sort of push that up just to give a sort of follow-up to what happened on NG and that kind of stuff as well. So once again, you guys can stay in the town hall and stuff like that. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. Okay.